Welcome, everyone, to Always on CXEX, a show for contact center and IT leaders. Between helping support your contact center reps, your customers, and the tech that makes the contact center function, you're relied upon quite a lot. Can't afford for your customer experience, agent experience, or stability of the contact center to falter. So, in this show, we talk through how you can continuously improve your customer experience, your employee experience, and everything in between. If you're ready to find the next strategy to keep your customer and employee experience always on, let's get into this episode. Today, we have Jasper Filon, a solution architect and contact center subject matter expert here at AudioCodes, joining us to detail how logistics companies can improve their customer experience through Microsoft Teams. So let's jump into the conversation. Jasper, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, glad that you could come. You've had your hands pretty full with some logistics companies over in your part of the world. So wanted to have you on the show to kind of talk through your experience there. I know later we're going to talk through a little bit more of the details and use cases that you've had with them. But really to kick things off, I wanted to ask, kind of an opening question of, related to how Microsoft Teams can change the way that a logistics company can handle their customer interactions. So, with a unified communications platform like Microsoft Teams, how can that change the way that a logistics company would handle their customer interactions?
It's a really interesting question, Josh, and I've been giving it some thought over the past few days. And one of the aspects I think we should not underestimate is the fact that Teams is a true SaaS solution running from the cloud, where many logistics companies, they come from an on-prem solution. It might be running on virtual servers, but still often on-prem. And moving to a SaaS solution gives them a lot of freedom that they didn't have otherwise. You can think about higher uptime, of course. Like it lives in the cloud, it's fully redundant, it's always there. We don't have the issues of reaching the solution. Like we don't have to worry about where is the employee located. Does he have a VPN? Does he have a company device? Like Teams is always there. We can use it on our laptop. We can use it on our mobile phone. We can use it when we're on the road. And I think that's a very, very strong incentive, especially for logistics company, right? Because those people, they're not sitting in the office all day behind their
Mhm.
laptop. They can be anywhere.
Yep.
So having that freedom of a true cloud solution, I think, is very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked on a couple things. Not being always in one area, especially I know I've found that I'm using Microsoft Teams on my phone quite a lot and being able to communicate through there, gather calls on my phone all the time versus just having to sit at my desktop. Um, you know, I've always found that to be the best thing, especially, have you found talking with people who are in logistics company, are they on their mobile quite a lot? Is it that they're in a maybe a logistics factory? How can it be that sometimes it's hard to hear or things like that? What are you seeing?
Yeah, it's really important to have the full range of devices available. Like I'm on my mobile as well all the time, taking
Mhm.
calls from the car, taking calls from the office, taking calls from home. But especially logistics people, indeed, factory floor. We still see a lot of wireless communication. 4G, 5G might not be the best coverage. So,
Yeah.
luckily, we have solutions to have teams running on DeX wireless solutions, for example. But we also see, like drivers, for example, they might have a company app and being able to use like a click to call solution right from the app without having to switch to a dialer or a different application.
Yeah.
We can integrate that in Teams as well. And in the end, it's about enabling the customer, whether that's an employee or an end customer,
Mhm.
to reach out and build that communication stream as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to jump more into some of the customer experience capabilities that can be found in Microsoft Teams. So, you know, typically we're seeing a lot of companies integrate the contact center directly into their main service desk through Microsoft Teams. So maybe we can touch on the other aspect of where that can be added into the business. In what specific ways does integrating contact center capabilities into Microsoft Teams benefit the logistics company beyond just that main service desk?
So it's always the silos that break down internal communication, right? And for a contact center agent to have one application where they get their contact center inbound conversations, and then having to switch to a different screen where they can chat with their colleagues, where they might have to transfer a call, and they want to see if a back office employee is available. Like, they'll have to switch to a different application, check the presence of that user. They might not be able to do name-based dialing from a classic contact center application. So
Mhm.
by having it all integrated in Teams, you give the user one single application where they can do anything. They get their calls, they can see which colleagues are available, they can transfer the call, but also we keep the logging, the customer journey, in one application. So we actually can see in our report which back office agent did we transfer the call to, and the back office agent can get all the information he needs on the call. So yeah, it's by minimizing any hindrance that might occur when you switch from front office to back office. That's where there's a lot of efficiency to gain.
Yeah, I know minimizing those tabs, especially when you're when you're on a call, can really help, and having not having to go between multiple systems can save just a lot of time when you're interacting with a customer. Um, and I think I've heard this said before: "Time is money," especially coming
Yeah.
from. I heard that quote specific from the company we're going to be talking about here in a second. Um, Speaking of, you know, we know that. Logistics companies specifically using Microsoft Teams, it's helping to enhance obviously the customer experience of when they're interacting with the customer, but also the employee experience. And oftentimes, when you're having a better employee experience for the agents and other people that are working within the business, that can often lead to a better customer experience um, for when they're on the phone or through other omni-channel aspects, whether it's through web chat or email. Maybe could you walk us through a scenario where, say, a logistics company successfully use Microsoft Teams to improve that customer experience and employee experience at the same time?
Yeah, I would love to. And so what I would like to do, and luckily we did this project with a customer called Van der Lande. They're a Dutch company, very big logistics company, and they agreed to be a public reference case for us. So that makes it easier for me to freely talk about it on
Yeah,
a
definitely.
show like this, which I'm really happy with because I really, really enjoyed that project. So Van der Lande, they do like big warehouse logistics systems. So you can think about airports, for example, where they do the mechanical systems for luggage handling, but they also do a lot of logistics systems for web shops. So think of the Amazons of the world.
Hmm.
And they've been migrated to Teams already many years ago during the COVID pandemic, like many other customers.
Hmm.
And they reached out to us. I think by now it's about 1.5, 2 years back, and they were like, "We want to get a new contact center solution that works completely integrated with Teams, to make sure that we have everything in one application." So we migrated them fully to AudioCodes Voca, which is the solution we proposed to them. And like the feedback we're getting from them, it's so amazing. They their system is faster now, like faster to onboard new changes, faster to explain to agents how it works. It's much more reliable compared to their old solution. They can very efficiently see, like, a customer might, like, if a customer of them has an outage in their system,
Hmm.
it's the amount of damage that causes it goes up really fast, right? Like imagine an airport grinding to a halt.
Yeah.
um, so for them to immediately get that call, see which back office agents are available, to make sure that that caller reaches somebody with the correct knowledge within seconds, yeah, it's extremely valuable for them. And like you say, time is money, and for them that's 100% true.
Hmm. What what would make it more reliable for them versus maybe what they were using in the past versus, you know, having Voca available to them now? What would make that change basically?
So one of the big changes when they move to Voca is that, like Teams, Voca is a true SaaS solution, right?
Mhm,
It runs in our Azure environment. We manage it, we operate it, we make sure that it's available all the time, 24/7. We have the global NOC, so we have all those engineers worldwide that look at it. Um, and if you compare that to their old system, which was much more a solution specific for them, deployed specifically for them, configured specifically for them,
mhm.
anything you do for a specific customer as a unique project, it's harder to maintain, right? Because you have a special running. So by moving to that SaaS solution, it's just a web page for them. They don't have to install any clients locally. They don't have to worry about which equipment their agents are using. It's you open the browser, you log in, and it's always there. It's always available.
Yeah. I know, so thinking of logistics, specifically, if something goes wrong or they're needing to make a change, like you said, any time that it's down or anytime something is not working, that often can cost quite a lot of money. I'm just thinking Amazon, if something were to go down with them, just thinking about the amount of packages and things that they're shipping on globally on a daily basis is just immense.
Yeah.
Um, so it sounds like one of the things you're mentioning is more of like a self-service aspect, being able to go in and make updates yourself, or with it being a SaaS solution, the tool updates on its own, versus having to go and work with the vendor to help make an update, and that take 2 weeks or however long it might take. Um, what other aspects of self-service did you find to be helpful for Vonderlande?
So we were in the Vanderlande office like a month ago, I think, to shoot a testimonial, and we actually went into their main contact center, which was really nice for me because up till that point I was mostly working with the stakeholders, right, the project manager,
Mhm,
the people ultimately responsible for the solution, and then you go onto the floor and it's like 20-30 agents, and we had a chat with their team leader. And one of the things he immediately mentioned is, oh, it is so much easier for us now to make quick changes on the fly that previously, like you said, Josh, that they had to reach out to the supplier for.
mm,
And we've given them the flow editor where you can just drag and drop logical elements, build your own call flows. Um, and there's a safety mechanism in there that will validate the call flow, and you have different versions. So it for them it's really easy if they want to change something, like something happens and they want to upload a different greeting file with a special message, or they want to reroute a specific category of calls to a different destination. It's really easy for them to just pull up the web browser, log into the admin interface, drag some elements around and make a change like that. And for them, that was really amazing. They never realized that there were products that made it so easy for them to make those changes themselves.
yeah.
And having that control, that if something unexpected happens, you can fix your routing yourself instead of reaching out to a vendor, logging a ticket. Who knows what SLA is there? Like even a 2-hour SLA, which is really really quick. If you want to make an instant change because one of your queues is overloading, 2 hours is a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. What, when you were there, did they maybe share some next steps that they're, looking to go in the next, couple months, maybe throughout 2024?
They did, yeah, and of course it's always important to keep on moving, right? You
Yeah.
don't just deploy one solution and then sit back and enjoy, but always looking for the next step. So one of the things I know that we're going to look into with them is adding the recording on top of the contact center solution, and then not just using that recording very passively, so waiting for a customer to say, hey, something went wrong, and then listening back to that recording. But of course, using all the conversational and cognitive services we can do on top of that recording. So we can do things like sentiment analysis, like, hey, how many of your customers are happy when they call in? How many of your
Mhm.
customers kept happier during the call? How much are your agents talking? How much is your customer talking? Keyword spotting, like, are there specific topics that that they talk about a lot? Is there maybe greetings we can change? Is there so all those new services that have been opening up and becoming much more approachable over the past year, we want to add on top of the solution they're already running.
Yep. So you talked a little bit about sentiment analysis, and we've talked also a little bit about some of the automation aspects. That's kind of the next direction I wanted to go. The role of AI and Microsoft Teams, in helping with the customer experience, especially for Von der Lande and other logistics companies. What role does AI and automation play in improving the customer experience? Especially when implemented through a Microsoft Teams contact center.
So the impact, I would say it's going to be huge, but that would be a mistake. I think it already is huge. Like, I know that many people think AI was invented like a year ago when ChatGPT made the headlines, but
Yeah.
that's not the case, right? And especially in contact center solutions. Contact centers still, it's manual labor, right? It's lots of people answering the phone. So even if you can optimize small aspects of that, the business case is very good, not only in monetary value, but also in customer experience. Like, if you can get the correct answer to that customer, like half a minute faster, that impact is huge on a large customer base. So we're already using AI features, for example, in intent detection. So the customer dials in, and instead of the old-fashioned press 1 for admin department, press 2 for the service desk, press 3 for that nobody likes, we can just ask the customer, like, "Hi, Mr. Customer, what can we help you? What can we do for you today?"
Mm-hmm.
And the customer can just describe the problem in their own words, and we can detect what they're calling about. On top of that analysis, we talked about automation, of course. Like, we can already do a lot of automation just from the flow editor that's part of Voca. So a customer that wants to know the status of a ticket, for example, we can handle that fully automated. We don't need a human agent for that. It's nice for the customer, they get an answer quicker. It's nice for the agent because they don't get the boring, repetitive questions where all they have to do is look up a number in a database and give an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win for everyone. And of course, we are working more and more with completely virtual agents, where an agent can have a virtual agent can have a full conversation with a client and handle like 80% of all inquiries. That's where we're going to.
Yeah. Could you maybe give an example of a specific way that a logistics company or maybe even Von der Lande is using AI within maybe a call flow or some other aspect of their contact center?
So the example I like most, it's actually not from Van der Lande, but it's a parcel delivery company. And they reached out to us and we did some analysis with them. And they were like, yeah, like 3/4 of all questions coming in to our contact center is just people wanting to know the status of their packet. And we have banks and banks of agents, and all they do is they type in the parcel number and they read back the status. So automating something like that, the impact is enormous on the amount of manpower you save with that. And it always sounds very harsh if we're talking about saving manpower, but we shouldn't forget it's hard to find qualified people these days. Like, the amount of job openings worldwide, it's enormous. So it's not like we're pushing people out of a job. We're opening up the interesting conversations to the agent and automating away the boring stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the big thing. Sometimes the thought of AI taking over your job, that seems to be a hot, clickable topic at the moment. But really, it's AI taking over the mundane aspects of
Yeah.
your job, where you, maybe as an agent or a supervisor, have the ability to then focus on the higher priority things. Because I don't know about you, I got everyone has a lot of priorities, a lot of things they need to do throughout the day. And when you have those small tasks that come in day by day of like, oh, can I, you know, get this from you? Can I have this update? Whatever it may be, it can really fill in the time that you have to, when you have a high priority task, it takes, some thought and effort and finding, especially within the agent use case of, you know, I've been on calls with agents where having a wonderful experience, and it is taking a while. It took 45 minutes because it's taking a lot of time and effort to find what they need to be able to serve the customer, and that's really what the agent is there for. To really serve the customer, create a great experience for the customer so that they continue to come back, or they even, as a customer, are speaking to their friends about what experience they've had. With that particular company. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and we should free up the agent to have that kind of conversation, right? So one of the simple things you can do is have an AI listen to the conversation. The AI doesn't have to talk or anything, but the AI is just there, it's listening to the conversation. And at the end of your 45-minute interaction, the AI can present the agent with a summary of the call. So the
Mhm.
agent can focus completely on your conversation. He doesn't have to keep notes. He doesn't have to scribble down quick items. Oh, we talked about this, we talked about that. Like at the end of the call, the agent gets the summary. He can glance at it. He can make changes if he thinks something is missing or something should be adjusted. But it's those kinds of tasks that we can take away with AI that enables the agent to do their job better.
Yeah, I think I've found that personally to be a great use case for AI, of it having it on a meeting or having it on a call where they listen and they it takes the notes for you. That way you don't have to be sitting here jotting down everything and try to remember it, figure out where you stuck that sticky note from 2 weeks ago. But rather it's, AI took the notes for you. You just reference back to the meeting title or the call or whoever you're speaking with or whatever it may be. And then you just go in there, you read the summary. It's like, all right, now I remember what that conversation was about, rather than, yeah, looking for that sticky note. I don't know if you've had that same experience.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it makes life so much easier. And then because you have the summary, you can search in a summary. I can just pull up my meeting repository and be like, oh, when did I last talk about this and this subject? Or oh, I
Mhm.
remember I had a conversation with somebody on this, and it can just find it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
I wanted to go back. We've talked a lot about AI, but some of the automation aspects. So, what are, maybe for a logistics company, the types of knowledge bases or databases that they would have integrated with Microsoft Teams contact center, or just into their contact center in general, that would be very helpful for both the supervisors as well as the agents?
So in the end, every contact center, they're built on top of knowledge bases. There's so much knowledge needed, and the tricks is to get the knowledge in there, the correct knowledge, but also to get the knowledge out of the system to the agent.
Mhm.
So doing things like proper call qualification early on, so we know what topics our customers talk about, what are the main questions that are being asked. That's really important, and like we talked about, AI can help with that. Um, then we can immediately do data dips. So as soon as we present the call to the agent, we can already tell the agent like, oh, this is the intent that we filtered from the customer. This customer is talking about this and this specific topic. We can take that from the voice input from the customer. We can take that from a CRM system, for example. We can do a lookup of the phone number, and see which customer it is. And then we can immediately start accessing all the internal systems we might have that give us information on the customer. So that
Mhm.
might be something like a common knowledge bank where we just collect questions and answers. That might be the call history of the customer. That might be maybe an ordering system, whatever. But we can pull all this data and then present it to the agent in the form that works best for the agent. So that might be little text snippets, that might be including a full application into the agent interface, so the agent has direct access to a CRM, for example.
Mhm.
But we can go further than that, and we can have, again, the AI we talked about that does call summarization. It can also just during the call do coaching towards the agent, and just real time listen to the conversation, do lookups in the knowledge base, and then present the agent with guidance on, oh, you might want to say this, or you might want to ask about that. So there's every step of that interaction, from before it comes in to when it's rounded down, we can add those AI integrations that make a better end result in the end.
Yeah, definitely. And those are all things that would be within, I guess, a UI that's built into Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, yeah. So having that one application presented to the agent, I think is very important. Like nobody wants to switch between multiple applications. So
Yeah,
having everything integrated, it's a huge plus. Makes it a lot easier to use.
love it. All right, so we've talked quite a lot about integrations, AI, everything being in one place. All right, now to some practical things. What would be a best practice for a logistics company to to say deploy a contact center or deploy having better customer experience in Microsoft Teams?
So when we did the project with Van der Lande, one of the things I really liked, and which we also got as feedback in the testimonial, is they didn't come to us with like a RFP like list of requirements where
Mhm.
they just took every functions they had in their current system, they put them in an Excel sheet, and they went shopping with, this is the list we want. They really sat down with us and they were like, we want a new contact center solution, and we're looking for a trusted partner that we can have a back and forth with, where we can brainstorm on what's really important, what matters, but also what doesn't matter. It's really easy to go to one of the big names, that all pop into our mind when we think about contact center, that has a million and one features, that has so many buttons in the interface, that whatever scenario you can think of, they have a solution for that. And then the project becomes huge, the implementation times becomes huge, nobody fully understands it, so any change you want to make immediately becomes like a 3-month project. So with Van der Lande, we really sat down with them, but they also sat down with their agents, like, okay, what do you really use, what is really important for you? And then things things pop up like, yeah, I just want to be able to do everything from the web browser, because I hate it when I open up my computer and I have to install some Java update before I can start working. So yeah, very often the features that people think about, it's not really what the important things are, and there's much more down to earth issues that we need to fix first. But yeah, having that back and forth with the customer giving us the freedom, when they come with a requirement, we would often say like, okay, I understand what the requirement is, but I think you should approach it from a different angle. um, yeah, that gives a very, very powerful outcome.
I love that. So, if I were to take kind of three things from that, it sounds like um, sticking to the core features. A lot of times you uh, maybe receive a demo. I know I've sat in plenty of demo calls where I'm being shown a really awesome solution. But about half the things that are being shown to me are, all right, I would have to learn how to do that. I would have to then integrate that into my kind of daily working environment. And typically most people don't have the time to be learning new tools. They want something they already are pretty familiar with. And sometimes things are built with a lot of extra nice to haves or bells and whistles that typically aren't serving kind of the core needs of the user. So it sounds like that's one thing. The other thing is, when you're deploying, making sure that it's flexible and that it can be quick to implement. Last thing you want is that you sign on with a vendor, and then the next thing you know, you're 3 months in and it's still sitting on the shelf. I think that's about the worst thing for someone who's in a, like a CTO role of like, oh, we have all of these awesome tools, but they're not being used or they're not being implemented quick enough. So that sounds like that's a really big thing. The last thing is, sometimes there is a forgotten user when it comes to buying um, tools, and that is especially contact center tools. And sometimes that is the agent, and asking exactly what do they need. How is their daily life? How is their employee experience? What do you need within this tool to be able to do your job better? And obviously there's aspects from like a supervisor and contact center manager standpoint that need to be solved with whatever tool you're looking at, but especially from the agent side, it's very important too.
I think that's a great summary. Yeah, I totally agree there.
Awesome. Well, Jasper, I believe that about brings us to the end. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Very insightful. Love all your knowledge when it comes to working with logistics companies, especially with Von der Lande. It sounds like you have a great relationship with them.
We have, yeah, and we should definitely. I'm not sure if we can do that, Josh, but we should definitely include a link to the case study when we publish it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure that is in the show notes for everyone in case you are working at a logistics company and you want to read a little bit more about how Voca was implemented with Von der Lande, or if you want to know more from Jasper or anyone else on our team, feel free to reach out. But thank you for listening to this episode of Always On CXEX. If you got one thing you can use to improve your customer and employee experience, we'd appreciate if you'd subscribe, leave a five-star review. If you're interested in improving your customer experience by using Microsoft Teams as a contact center, consider trying Voca for free for 30 days. Just voted the best Microsoft Teams contact center by CX Today. Voca brings to Teams the most critical contact center features for providing great customer service in the main service desk and departments beyond the contact center without that hefty price tag or the nice to haves. Just Google AudioCodes Voca or find the link in the show notes along with that case study. But thank you again for tuning into this episode of Always On CXEX. We'll see you in the next one.